What happens when your purpose shifts in some way? It's altered, it's changed, or perhaps in some cases it's fading. Yikes, right? This is so typical for moms as kids grow and their independence starts to come into play and they don't need us as much. But honestly, this could happen to anybody. And you get into the space of like, now what? Now what do I do? Well, that's what we're going to dive in today in this episode called A Fading Purpose.
We all have situations, experiences, and moments in our life when we know deep at our core we have to do something different. We have to pivot. And regardless of how big or small that pivot is, it requires us to change something in our life. And that change can feel really uncomfortable. However, it is that change that is creating something entirely new. And it is that newness that creates a very different way of life in one area or multiple areas of our life. What's this all about? It is all about reinventing thyself. My name is Michelle Shutter, and I'd like to welcome you to Reinventing Thyself. I am so glad that you joined me today because it is here that we'll move beyond our old self, our old identity, and that trailer of garbage from the past that we like to pull into the future, but really need to ditch that hitch. It is here that we'll move into that place of reinvention and embracing the newness of it all. Are you ready to step into reinventing thyself? Because guess what? It is never too late, and your time is now. Let's get started.
Welcome to Reinventing Thyself podcast. My name is Michelle Shutter, and I am so excited that you are here today because in this episode, we are going to dive into a fading purpose. And, like what happens when your purpose starts to shift or it changes in some way. And in this case, like it's starting to fade because if you're a mom, you know that your kids don't need you as much at 12, 16, 18 as they did when they were little, right? So it is all starting to shift for some people. Now, even if you're not a parent, you'll resonate with some of the things that I share with you in this episode because our purpose does shift over time. And I'm going to give you a whole different perspective on purpose in this episode. But, like, what do you do if your purpose starts to shift? Well, again, I'm so excited that you're here today, and I'm honored that you've carved out some time to listen to this episode. And this episode actually comes from inspiration from having lunch with a dear friend last week, and she brought up that question. She had said, like, what is my purpose? The kids don't need me as much for homework anymore. Well, I'm not running them to all their activities as much anymore. One, because, some have their license, and two, we're still in this time of not everything is back to fully being open. So kids' activities have shifted and changed. And, like, what is my purpose? And one thing that we have to realize, especially as moms, like it's so easy to get caught up in all of our kids' activities and having a kid-centered life for so many years because their schedule generally dictated our schedule. And at some points it still does. But keep in mind that like it's neither good nor bad. It just is. And unfortunately, we didn't carve out perhaps enough time for ourselves when you're in that heat of the moment of busyness of really dealing with kids on a 24/7 basis. And unfortunately, what happens is we start to have this like disconnection from ourselves, and that disconnection and that place of questioning yourself, like, what is my purpose? It's really giving you a clue. And that clue is you're ready to pivot. You're ready to pivot into reinventing yourself in some way, shape, or form. Now, again, like it may feel uncomfortable. It may feel like you want to hold tight to that time that you had with your kids and you don't want it to go away. And that's completely normal. Like there are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, like where did the time with all my kids go? And will I remember that? And did I treasure those moments as much as I can? And again, like we have to step into that space as moms and know that like we did the best that we could in every single moment that we had with them. We made the best decisions we could at that moment. And still going forward, we can do that. Now, one thing that I'm going to throw out for you, and this is going to perhaps shift some perspective for you, is that your purpose is not your identity. And when you like start to, when somebody asks you that question of like, who are you? And then you ask yourself, who am I? Well, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse, I'm a banker, I'm a president of a corporation, I'm a waitress, I'm a coach, I work in customer service, I'm a human resources director, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter. Like all of that is all connected to your identity. It's not necessarily your purpose. Now, all of those will filter in terms of your purpose, but it is not your purpose of why you're here on earth. And I think that is some of the reason why it's so challenging for some people when their purpose fades. Because what happens when one of those goes away? So in the case of being a mom, what happens when all your kids no longer need you at the same level that they did when they were little? What happens when they all have their license and they're able to get themselves to wherever they need to go? What happens when they graduate from high school and they move on and really step into their adult life? When we connect that identity, that role in a sense to our purpose, that's what gives us such a deep feeling of loss. What happens if you lose your job? Oh my gosh, who am I if I'm not a teacher? And honestly, that was a topic I had to reconcile and come to terms with, because when I left my job about 6 years ago, that really surfaced a lot. Like, who are you if you're not a teacher? Like, you went and you got your college degree and you got your master's degree and you have all these degrees behind your name and all these credits. And who are you if you're not a teacher? And that even happens like when people are thinking about retire. And some people don't even want to retire because who would they be without that title, without that role? But again, it's just an indication, like it's coming up, it's surfacing to allow you to experience it because you're ready. And even though your logical mind is going to say, I'm not ready, I don't want to dive into that, you have to trust in the process that someone, something, whatever you believe in, whatever that higher source, that higher power is for you, knows the plan so much more in depth than what you ever will. And so what I want to offer you today is a universal purpose. And that universal purpose is that, you are here. Your purpose is to be the beautiful soul that you are and have the most amazing human experience you can while you're here on earth. Say what? Like that didn't have anything to do with being a mom, being a teacher, being a wife, being a daughter. Like it ditched all that, right? And so let me say this again. The universal purpose is for you to be the beautiful soul that you are, having the most amazing human experience you can while you are here on earth. Boom. That's it. And so when we struggle so much about finding that purpose, honestly, it's because we've become disconnected and we think that it has to be all these different titles, all these responsibilities, all these roles. Now, again, all of those filter in to your purpose. But when you use that universal purpose, and again, that can shift for you and it can alter in some way. When you use that as your filter, you're able to discern things a little bit easier in a sense. Now, don't get me wrong. Everything is not going to be bliss 24/7. Like it doesn't happen like that. You need life's challenges. You need life's successes to be able to discern, to be able to choose what exactly you want out of your life. Without that ebb and flow, you wouldn't have anything to compare to. You wouldn't know exactly what you wanted to create in your human experience. You wouldn't know what amazing experiences or situations to bring in to that human experience. And so when we think that our purpose is fading, it's actually that our identity is shifting. And our identity are shifting because it's opening us up, and it's opening space up for us to expand, to elevate, to really reinvent ourselves in some way. And so I want to just share with you just 5 different things that came up for me when I was reflecting on this, because one of the things that is, again, so easy to get caught up in is the identity part of it, that we think that that is our purpose. And that's just like our ego mind wanting to control things. And, you'll be a failure if you don't have something to do or be someone, and that isn't it. Like, that's just BS coming out of your thinking mind. It's just that bogus story that wants to keep you stuck in some way. And that's not it at all. So the first tip that I would recommend that you really think about and sit with is just reconnect to that universal purpose. Like, you, again, are that beautiful soul here creating the most amazing human experience you can while living here on earth. What does that look like for you? How do you want to show up in the world? What do you want to align with? Reconnect to that universal purpose. And again, like, things can shift, things can change. So once I had that universal purpose, I even broke mine down just a little bit. I tightened it up, I guess is probably a better way to say that. I just tightened it up just even more. So the purpose statement that I use a lot with anything I do, essentially, is I try to keep this at the forefront of my mind. Am I perfect with it? Absolutely not. But again, it keeps me focused, and it keeps me out of those spaces of you have to have some kind of identity, right? So the purpose statement that I tightened up goes like this: through my wholeness, light, and loving heart, I create a soulful impact by awakening, reconnecting, and elevating one to expansiveness and the fullest expression of their true self by reinventing their self. Okay, so that was the number 1, reconnect to the universal purpose. Number 2 is tap into joy. We get so disconnected from joy. And sometimes I think, like, people come into our life that have just a low vibrational energy, and it's just so easy for us to go down to that level. And so what we want to do is really think about, what are those things that bring us joy? Like that deep joy that I could just sit here and do nothing and be completely joyful, right? What are those things? Perhaps it's something to do with your kids. Perhaps it is something about, being in nature. Perhaps it's creating something. Whatever it is for you, but really get some clarity around joy. And don't be afraid to pull out a pen and journal and paper and really jot some of this down. Like, if we can get some of this out of our mind, bring it up through our heart and out of our mind and onto paper, like, that is just so powerful to be able to see it and visualize it. So number 1 was reconnect to the universal purpose. Number 2, tap into joy. Number 3 is just drop into your heart. And I kind of alluded to this when I was talking about joy, but we really have to come back to this place of being heart-centered instead of head-centered. And really, what do you just deeply love that would enhance your human experience? Bring all these pieces together to support that purpose. So like, that universal purpose is kind of like this blanket or this umbrella that is covering everything, and everything filters underneath it. Number 4 is identify where you best shine your light. Every single person on this earth has something unique, something that is special just to them. And that light that you bring out into the world impacts people on a different level. Now, does it have to be this huge production of something? No, absolutely not. But every person has something, and there are people waiting for you to expand your light, to share your light, to shine your light, because that is meant to impact their life in a positive way. Number 5 is be okay with stillness. Now, this could be a challenging one as your purpose is starting to fade, because it may not be revealed to you right away. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to sit in that place of unknowing. And let me tell you, and I can tell you from experience, that thinking mind, that ego mind, is going to want an answer yesterday, right? It is going to want to figure everything out. It's going to want it all planned. It's going to want to know the steps, the actions to take. I mean, go on and on and on. And as you become more aware of this, you'll be able to see it perhaps in yourself as well. But don't be afraid to stay in that stillness. And just some questions that you can ask yourself when you're in that stillness is, how can I create an amazing human experience going forward? And don't judge, but just drop everything onto paper that comes into your mind. Just drop it all. And another way you can rephrase that is just saying, I wonder. I wonder what my amazing human experience is going to look like going forward. I wonder what that is going to look like. And again, stay in that stillness and jot down what comes to you. Because when we are in the space of hustling, forcing, confusion, and panic, that's not aligned with the universal purpose. It's actually creating more disconnection from the universal purpose. However, when we can really tap into that amazing space and that amazing universal purpose, that's where the ease, the flow, the clarity, the certainty comes through. Now, not everything is going to make logical sense with you for you, I should say. And that's where I think some people get caught up too. I know I do, because I want an answer. I want it to be exact steps, and I want those exact steps to have the results that I think I should be obtaining or achieving. And honestly, that's not the case. We really have to trust at a deep, deep level. And it's that new profound trust that will show up for us in a way, like experiences and everything will show up for us in a way that is divine timing. It's like we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to panic about it. We don't have to be confused about it. We just have to trust in the process and the plan. Now, does that mean we don't take action? No. But if you listen to one of my previous episodes, we're taking that inspired action, that action that, it may feel a little uncomfortable. It may feel a little bit scary. It may be a space of just, I'm not certain, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to use this action as a learning experience, whether it works out the way I thought it would. But again, we're tapping into the wrong energy there, right? Or if it even turns out better than I could ever imagine. Think about that energy. That's the space that we want to be. Now, those 5 things, one more time, okay? And you can call them tips, or I wouldn't necessarily steps because they're not in any order, but just use these as a resource. So when you feel like that purpose is starting to fade and you want to really reconnect and really start to identify, gosh, what do I do next in my life? Use these 5 tips, okay? Number 1, reconnect to the universal purpose. Number 2, tap into joy. Number 3, drop into your heart. Get heart-centered here instead of head-centered. Number 4, identify where you best shine your light. And number 5, be okay with stillness. Now, in the space of a fading purpose, it's really about the pivot. And that pivot is there to share or to show you that it's time to reinvent yourself in some way. It could be something small, it could be something big, whatever it is for you, it doesn't matter. But it's showing up because you're ready to shift. And even though it's going to feel uncomfortable, your mind is going to want to talk you out of it, just know that you are in the right place at the right time and lean into that pivot of reinventing yourself. Now, if you're looking for some shortcuts, make sure you download my 3 shortcuts to reinventing yourself, reinventing thyself. You can find that at www.reinventingthyself.com. And I would love to hear what you're taking away from this podcast, or if you're watching it on video, just drop a comment, drop me a message. Let me know what resonates with you and what you're taking away from this episode. Be accountable to yourself and really take some time, take some space to lean into this if you have a fading purpose. Because when we embrace the newness of it all, it really allows us to create something new in our life that is aligned with our heart and soul. So thank you for joining me today. Until next time, embrace the newness.
Well, what are you waiting for? Whether you've pivoted and are unsure, or you're on the verge of pivoting, there is no better time than now for you to begin. Want to know why? Because if it wasn't the right time, the pivot wouldn't have shown up. And to get you started, I have got 3 shortcuts to reinventing thyself. Just head on over to www.reinventingthyself.com and you can download it there. And don't forget to message me with the shortcut that resonates with you the most. One last thing, I know you and I are not the only ones that have leaned into the pivot. Be sure to share this with others so they can be supported too. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for supporting me and sharing this message. Until next time.